Have you ever wondered why some people seem more aggressive than others? Or why addiction can make people more impulsive and short-tempered? The answer often lies in a brain chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is best known as the feel-good neurotransmitter. It plays a huge role in motivation, pleasure, and reward. And when it's out of balance, it can also fuel aggression. And for people with a history of addiction, this effect can be even more likely. Let's break down how dopamine affects aggression, why addiction can make things worse, and most importantly, what you can do to keep your dopamine levels in check and manage aggressive tendencies. Dopamine is like your brain's built-in reward system. It gives you that rush of excitement when you accomplish something, eat your favorite food, or scroll through social media. However, dopamine also influences behavior in ways we are not always aware of. Studies show that when dopamine levels are too high, it can reinforce aggressive behavior, making it feel rewarding. Conversely, when dopamine levels are too low, it can lead to poor impulse control, meaning people struggle to hold back their reactions or cravings. In other words, dopamine can push aggression forward or make it harder to stop, depending on how it's working in the brain. So how does addiction change dopamine and aggression? If you've ever dealt with addiction or know someone who has, you know it can change a person's behavior dramatically. That's because addiction hijacks the dopamine system, making the brain crave whatever substance or behavior gives it a dopamine hit. Drugs, sugar, alcohol, gambling, behavioral patterns, etc. Early on, addiction makes dopamine levels skyrocket, reinforcing risk-taking and aggressive behavior. As addiction progresses, the brain struggles to produce dopamine naturally, leading to irritability, frustration, and withdrawal symptoms. This cycle of dopamine spikes and crashes can make people more aggressive, impulsive, and emotionally unstable. This is the reason aggression is more common in people with addiction histories. Even if the original addiction has been released, the person's dopamine system has altered, making emotional control much more challenging. Aggression isn't always loud, physical, or obvious. While some people express it through shouting, confrontation, or even violence, others display passive-aggressive behavior, which can be equally damaging. This might look like silent treatment, sarcasm, procrastination, subtle digs, or intentionally forgetting responsibilities. In these cases, aggression is still present and merely turned inward or expressed indirectly. Research suggests that dopamine imbalances can fuel both overt and passive aggression, making it harder for people to communicate frustrations healthily. Understanding this can help us recognize patterns in behavior and take steps to address them before they escalate. Why addiction and aggression often go hand in hand. It's important to know there is more involved here than dopamine levels. We also have to consider which parts of the brain are affected. Addiction and aggression share some common brain pathways. The prefrontal cortex, self-control center. When this part of the brain is weakened, which happens with addiction, people struggle with impulse control, making aggression more likely. The reward system, nucleus accumbens. Addiction makes this system hyperactive, meaning risky and aggressive behaviors feel more rewarding than they should. Dopamine and serotonin balance. Low serotonin and high dopamine is a dangerous mix. It's been linked to impulsive aggression in multiple studies. Because of these connections, people who have struggled with addiction are naturally more prone to aggression. But the good news is that it can be managed. So, how can we manage dopamine levels and reduce aggression? The key to keeping dopamine in balance is stability, not too high, not too low. Here are some practical steps to help regulate dopamine and reduce aggressive tendencies. Eat for balanced dopamine. Protein-rich foods like eggs, fish, chicken, and nuts help regulate dopamine naturally. Avoid dopamine spikes by avoiding processed sugar, excessive caffeine, and junk food. which causes dopamine crashes, leading to mood swings. Change your lifestyle, move and rest. Working out releases dopamine in a healthy, natural way, helping stabilize mood. Get enough sleep, because lack of sleep messes up dopamine production and leads to higher irritability and impulsiveness. Manage your reactions. Practice impulse control, mindfulness, deep breathing, NLP techniques, emotional release techniques all help train the brain to pause before reacting. Identify your triggers. Keeping a journal can help you spot patterns in your aggression and find better coping strategies. Seek support. Whether you select a therapist, coach, or support group, having structured help can make a big difference. Dopamine plays a huge role in how we feel and act. When our levels are balanced, we feel motivated and in control. When out of balance, especially by addiction, it can lead to impulsive aggression and emotional instability. The good news? You can reset your dopamine system. By making smart choices about food, exercise, sleep, and mindset, you can manage dopamine levels, reduce aggressive tendencies, and regain control over your emotions.